The letter arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. Harris and Keller Associates, embossed in sharp, confident lettering, caught the sunlight as I held the thick paper between my fingertips. My breath steadied, heart thudding against my ribs. I'd worked tirelessly for this, sacrificing sleep, weekends, and my limited social life. Pushing open the kitchen door, the scent of coffee and clean linen greeted me. My parents sitting at the table immersed in their phones. Carefully, I slid into the seat opposite, placing the letter down softly, the seal facing upward. "Mom, Dad," I started, voice calm, betraying none of my rising excitement. "I got the job. Harris and Keller offered me a senior analyst position." Mom glanced up, phone still in hand, eyes briefly catching mine. "That's nice, Eva," she murmured, already looking back down. "Senior analyst sounds important." Dad didn't even raise his head, thumbing through a news app. Distracted. "Congratulations. That was your second choice, right?" "No," I corrected, gently, forcing control into my voice. "This was my first choice. They offered a significant raise, too." "Well, good for you, honey," Mom said absent-mindedly. "Maybe now you can stop stressing so much." I watched her carefully, quietly processing how easily she diminished my achievement. "I worked really hard for this. It's a major opportunity." Dad finally glanced up, eyes mildly impatient. "We know, Eva. We're happy for you." He returned to his screen, fingers tapping. Silence expanded between us, heavy with unspoken disappointments. Slowly, I reached out, pulling the letter closer, folding it carefully into the envelope. My excitement drained into a numb, familiar ache. "Did either of you even hear me?" I asked quietly. Mom sighed, setting her phone aside briefly. "Eva, of course we heard you. It's great news. We're proud of you." Yet her words floated empty, perfunctory. She stood, moving toward the coffee maker, back turned. Dad didn't speak at all, absorbed in the financial headlines. "I thought you'd be happier," I finally said, voice neutral. Mom turned back, eyes pinched slightly. "Eva, we are happy. Really. But you've always done well. It's nothing surprising." Dad nodded slightly, still distant. "Exactly. We've never worried about your career." I stared at them, feeling a quiet betrayal seep in beneath the careful exterior I always maintained. Their dismissal wasn't loud or hurtful, just indifferent, casually eroding something deep within me. Without another word, I rose from my chair, letter clasped tightly in my hand. Upstairs in my room, I closed the door gently behind me, sinking onto my bed. The afternoon sun warmed my face as I reread the offer silently, memorizing each word, savoring the validation it offered, the validation I desperately needed from them, but could never obtain. My phone buzzed softly beside me. Clara's name flashed across the screen. Sighing, I picked up. "Hey, Eva." Her voice came bright and warm, filling the space my parents had hollowed. "Did you get the job?" "Yeah," I answered quietly. "Oh my God. Congratulations. I knew you would." Clara's enthusiasm flooded me, her joy genuine and immediate. "Have you told Mom and Dad?" "Just now," I admitted softly. Her voice dipped slightly, perceptive as ever. "And nothing special," I murmured. They barely looked up. Clara sighed, sympathetic but unsurprised. "They're just, you know how they are. This is huge, Eva. I'm proud of you." "I know," I whispered, feeling tears prickle dangerously. "Thanks. I mean it," she pressed gently. We should celebrate soon. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile she couldn't see. Maybe. After the call, I leaned against my headboard, the offer letter trembling slightly in my hands. Clara had always tried to bridge the gap, but even her warmth couldn't erase the quiet ache my parents' indifference had carved out inside me. As evening settled, I headed downstairs again. My parents were at the dinner table now, passing salad bowls, forks clinking quietly. You joining us, Eva? Mom asked, polite but distant. Yes, I replied evenly, taking my usual seat. Silence stretched thin, punctuated only by the scraping of silverware. You still thinking about celebrating your anniversary at the country club? I asked lightly, trying to keep conversation neutral, despite my heart's dull throbbing. Yes, Mom replied, smiling at Dad warmly. 50 guests confirmed already. It's going to be beautiful. Your mother always throws the best parties, Dad added, affectionate in a way that felt foreign when directed toward me. I'm sure it'll be perfect, I said neutrally. We'd expect nothing less, Dad said with a smile, eyes briefly meeting mine before slipping away. Have you picked out your dress yet? Mom asked me casually. Not yet, I replied quietly, taking a small bite. Still looking. Dad nodded absently, chewing slowly. Good. You always look nice at these events. It's important. I looked up at them both, carefully measuring my words. I guess appearances matter more than I realized. Mom glanced at me, puzzled. What do you mean by that? Nothing, I said softly. Just making conversation. Mom raised an eyebrow slightly, considering me before returning her focus to her plate. Silence thickened once more, comfortable for them, suffocating for me. Later, standing by the sink rinsing dishes, I felt Mom approach quietly, hesitant. Eva, she began cautiously, voice lower than usual. Are you upset about something? No, I replied, voice even, calm. Why would you think that? You just seem a bit distant tonight. She ventured carefully. I placed the dish gently down, turning to her slowly. Did you honestly think I wouldn't notice your reaction today? She hesitated, eyes briefly flickering away. Eva, you've always been independent. We've never felt you needed much fuss. It wasn't personal. It felt personal, I replied quietly. Holding her gaze, Mom sighed, frustrated. Eva, you know we love you. We've always trusted you to handle things yourself. Trust isn't the same as caring, I countered softly. Eva, it's fine, I interrupted gently. I understand perfectly. Without waiting for her reply, I dried my hands, leaving her standing quietly by the sink, unsure what to say next. I walked slowly upstairs, each step deepening my quiet resolve in my room. I carefully slid the offer letter into a drawer, nestled beneath childhood memories that no longer felt comforting. As night descended, darkness wrapped around me, soft and isolating. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, the numbness inside me slowly transforming into something clearer, something stronger, and my parents' reaction hadn't shattered me. It sharpened me, clarified a truth I'd long ignored. I had spent a lifetime striving for their approval, offering my achievements at their feet like fragile, hopeful gifts. Tonight, I finally understood. Those gifts meant nothing if they went unseen in the quiet of my bedroom, eyes wide in the shadows. I silently made a promise to myself. Never again would I wait to be celebrated. From now on, my victories would be mine alone. Moonlight washed gently across the floorboards of my room, highlighting the faded floral rug I'd once cherished. My parents had chosen it for me, soft blues and whites, muted and understated, just like their expectations for me. I sat cross-legged in the center, photo albums spread open, memories scattered across the floor. Turning the pages slowly, my fingers traced over glossy images. Snapshots of my childhood, the milestones my parents had captured but never genuinely celebrated. Each photo was beautiful, carefully staged, sterile. As I lingered over them, the emptiness gnawed at the edges of my heart. My phone vibrated beside me, Clara's name lighting the screen again. I let it ring out softly, unwilling to explain myself tonight. Instead, I continued down memory lane, quietly confronting ghosts long buried beneath the polished surface of my upbringing. One photo drew my attention more sharply than the others. In it, I stood at 12 years old, proudly clutching a gold medal from my regional science fair. The smile on my face was bright, almost desperate, pleading for recognition. Beside me, Mom and Dad stood stiffly, smiling for the camera but never fully present. I closed my eyes, memories of that evening rushing back clearly. "You were amazing, Eva," Clara had whispered excitedly as we'd walked toward our parents. "Did you see how impressed the judges were? Do you think Mom and Dad noticed?" I had asked her, hopeful and naive. "They had to," Clara insisted gently. "You won first place." As we'd reached them, I'd held up my medal eagerly, heart pounding. "Look, first place," I'd announced breathlessly. Mom had glanced down, briefly. "Wonderful, Eva. Though, your display board could have been neater, dear. Presentation matters." Dad had nodded absently, distracted by conversation with another parent. "Good job, sweetheart. Keep it up." The ache returned sharply, that quiet sting of never quite measuring up. A knock at my door startled me from my memories. Clara's voice followed, tentative yet determined. "Eva, I know you're awake. Please open up." Reluctantly, I rose from the floor, unlocking the door gently. Clara slipped inside, eyes filled with concern as she noticed the scattered albums. "Memory lane?" she asked softly, settling onto my bed. "Something like that," I murmured. Returning to my place on the rug, she picked up one of the albums, flipping pages thoughtfully. "I remember this," she said quietly, pausing on a photo of me at graduation, valedictorian sash draped proudly around my shoulders. "You worked so hard that year." Mom and Dad barely acknowledged it, didn't they? "They were there, at least," I replied, voice neutral. "That's more than I could expect sometimes, Eva." Clara sighed softly, laying the album aside. "You deserved better." "Did I?" I looked up at her, the question genuine, layered with quiet bitterness. "Yes," she said firmly. "Of course, you did." "Then why didn't they ever give it?" My voice broke softly, controlled yet vulnerable. Clara hesitated, searching carefully for words. "I think it was never about you, Eva. They don't know how to celebrate anything they can't neatly display. They never have." "That doesn't make it hurt any less," I whispered softly, meeting her gaze. "I know," she agreed gently, voice sympathetic. "It doesn't." A moment passed in quiet understanding. Clara broke the silence first, voice tentative but resolute. "About the anniversary." "I'm not going," I interrupted calmly, my decision quietly firm. Clara nodded slowly, absorbing my words carefully. "I had a feeling you might say that. But Eva, they'll notice if you're missing." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "Will they, though?" Or will they just be embarrassed in front of their guests? She looked away, troubled. Maybe both. That's their issue, Clara, I replied softly. Not mine. I know, she said slowly, hesitant. But are you sure this is what you want? It's exactly what I want, I affirmed gently. Clara sighed quietly, visibly torn. Just promise me this isn't about punishing them. It's not punishment, I said carefully, meeting her gaze steadily. It's a statement. I can't keep begging them to see me. She stared at me thoughtfully, a hint of sadness in her eyes. You deserve better than you've gotten, Eva. You've always deserved better. I managed a small, careful smile. Maybe, but I won't settle for scraps anymore. She reached out, squeezing my hand gently. Whatever you decide, I'm on your side. Even if it hurts them, I asked, searching her eyes. Clara hesitated, honest and conflicted. I don't want them hurt, but I also don't want you broken by their neglect anymore. It's gone on too long. Exactly, I whispered softly, gripping her hand gently. Thank you. Always, she murmured quietly, smiling softly before rising slowly from the bed. I'll let you rest. Call if you need me. Promise, I said gently, watching her leave. Closing the door softly behind her. Left alone again, I let my eyes drift back to the photographs. Memories I once cherished, now tinged with clarity and quiet sadness. I gathered the albums carefully, sliding each one back onto the shelf. But one picture, the science fair medal clutched in my desperate grasp, remained in my hand. Slowly, I traced my finger along my younger self's hopeful expression, feeling quiet sorrow at the innocence lost. Clara was right. This wasn't about punishing my parents. It was about finally valuing myself enough to no longer seek their hollow validation. Rising, I moved to the drawer where I'd placed the Harris and Keller offer letter, pulling it free again. Holding both the photo and letter, I took a deep breath, letting resolve flood through me gently, like water seeping into parched earth. Carefully, I pinned the picture above my desk, alongside the letter, to symbols juxtaposed, one of desperate childhood yearning, the other of adult triumph achieved entirely on my own terms. Stepping back, I studied them both in quiet contemplation, realizing I'd spent years chasing their approval, driven by quiet desperation. But tonight, beneath the gentle glow of moonlight, I finally understood something deeply important. Their approval had always been an empty chase, a quiet poison I'd swallowed willingly for years. I'd built my achievements on their indifference, believing success would change their hearts. But hearts rarely change so easily. Tonight, I finally recognized the truth. My worth wasn't measured by their acknowledgement. It never had been. Turning away, I switched off the bedside lamp, room darkening around me. Settling under the blankets, I let calm settle deeply inside me, anchored now by clarity rather than bitterness. Tonight, I chose myself, knowing, finally, it was enough. At dawn, the city beyond my window awakened slowly, orange hues filtering through sheer curtains, bathing my bedroom in warm, gentle clarity. My sleep had been restless, haunted by quiet echoes of memories, subtle betrayals resurfacing as shadows faded. Sitting upright, I inhaled deeply, savoring the rich scent of fresh coffee cradled carefully in my hands. Morning brought sharp clarity. I sipped quietly, gaze fixed beyond the glass. Decision settled in me gently yet firmly, each sip reinforcing calm resolution. My parents' anniversary loomed ahead, an annual gala they orchestrated with meticulous precision. More a performance for their social circle than genuine celebration. As I stood, stretching carefully, my phone buzzed on the nightstand screen, briefly illuminating Clara's name once more. Ignoring it intentionally this time, I wandered toward the kitchen. Everything felt clearer today, quieter, like stepping away from a crowded room into fresh air, finally free of noise I'd grown accustomed to tolerating. Settling onto my small kitchen stool, I pulled open my laptop, emails awaiting my attention. But I paused, eyes drifting instead toward the corner shelf adorned with tasteful yet empty mementos my parents had gifted over the years. A crystal vase, porcelain figurines, all lovely but meaningless gestures, given from obligation rather than love. My phone vibrated again, breaking my contemplation. This time a message from Mom. Eva, please don't forget your dress fitting for the gala this afternoon at 4. Confirm? Staring at the screen briefly, I typed a careful reply. I won't make it today. Sorry. I set my phone aside gently, imagining her puzzled expression, displeased yet composed, masking her irritation behind polite confusion. I felt no guilt, only quiet empowerment, each boundary drawn reinforcing my newfound strength. Minutes passed quietly before my phone rang insistently, Mom's name bright and insistent. Pausing only briefly, I answered, my voice even and composed. Hello, Mom? Eva, is something wrong? Your message surprised me. Her tone masked mild annoyance behind concern. Nothing's wrong, I responded calmly. I just have other priorities today. She hesitated, voice sharpening subtly. Eva, you know how important this anniversary gala is to your father and me. You've never missed a fitting before. There's a first time for everything, I replied, voice gentle yet clear. She inhaled sharply. Eva, if you're upset about something, please just say it. This passive aggressiveness isn't like you. I smiled faintly, unseen. I'm not upset, Mom. I'm just finally acknowledging what matters to me. She paused, uncertainty in her silence. Eva, whatever it is, we can discuss it. Just please keep the fitting. It's important. To you? I replied, carefully, steady, but not to me. Not anymore. Another silence, more fragile. Eva, she said, voice softer, confused. Please don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I murmured gently. I'm simply making a choice. Her voice sharpened again, protective anger slipping through. This isn't how we raised you. No, I agreed quietly. It's exactly how you raised me. Independent, isn't that right? She exhaled, frustration clear. Eva, let's not make a scene over something trivial. I laughed softly. Sadness threaded through the sound. It's funny, Mom. That's exactly what I thought when you dismissed my job offer. I guess we disagree on what's trivial. I told you we were happy for you, she protested defensively. You barely looked up, I whispered, quiet power underscoring my words. But this isn't about the job, really. It's about everything. What does that even mean, Eva? She demanded quietly. It means, I explained slowly, calmly. I'm tired of performing for your approval, Mom. This galla's just another stage, and I'm done acting. She was silent for a long moment, the quiet hum of our connection stretching thin between us. So, you're really not coming? She finally asked, voice colder, distant. I'm really not, I confirmed softly. Another pause, brief yet weighted. Fine, she said, clipped, professional. Do as you please. We'll manage without you. I know you will, I murmured, quietly. You always have. She hung up abruptly, the sharp silence marking a clear line drawn. Setting my phone aside, I took another slow sip of coffee, the warmth spreading through me as I steadied myself against the fresh reality I'd created. There was sadness, yes, but beneath it lay quiet satisfaction, the serene clarity that comes only from honest self-recognition. My phone vibrated gently once more. Clara's message illuminating the screen softly. Mom called. She's furious. What's going on? I typed back slowly, each word thoughtful. I'm done pretending. They can celebrate without me. Her reply arrived swiftly. Are you okay? I considered carefully before typing back a simple, honest message. I've never felt better. Setting my phone down. Again, I returned to my coffee, gazing thoughtfully out the window. The sky brighter now. Morning fully awake. Life felt newly vibrant. Decisions finally reflecting the woman I'd quietly become. Not the daughter I'd always been expected to be. My eyes drifted briefly back toward the shelf of empty gifts. They had always symbolized quiet compliance, subtle ways my parents controlled and directed my path, nudging gently, guiding me subtly toward their vision, their standards. Each gift had felt heavy, burdensome in ways I'd rarely admitted even to myself. Today felt different, light, liberating, choosing myself, not to spite them but to honor my own truth, carried its own quiet reward. There would be no dramatic scenes, no shouting matches. My rebellion was soft, strategic silence. I stood slowly, placing my empty mug gently in the sink. With careful determination, I gathered each porcelain gift, each delicate crystal vase, calmly boxing them up one by one. I would donate them, quietly, anonymously releasing their hold, symbolic yet profound. Stacking the boxes carefully by the door, I felt lighter with each action, weight lifted gently yet powerfully from my shoulders. Quietly, I dressed for the day, choosing clothes for myself, comfort and simplicity over polished appearances. Stepping into the sunlight outside my apartment, the morning air crisp and fresh, I breathed deeply. For the first time, decisions felt entirely mine. Choices made without fear of disappointment or the lingering ache of unfulfilled expectations. Today, finally, I celebrated only me. 2 days passed quietly, my phone silent after the brief storm of messages from Clara and my mother subsided. I moved calmly through my routine, attending meetings, finalizing details at my current job, all while steadily anticipating the new role at Harris and Keller Associates. The days felt clear, purposeful, punctuated only by the careful, deliberate absence of contact with my family. Late Thursday evening, while sorting documents at my desk, my phone buzzed sharply again, Clara's number flashing across the screen. Insistently. This time, curiosity mixed with resignation prompted me to answer. Eva. Clara started immediately, voice tense but soft, carefully measuring her words. Please talk to me. Mom's calling me nonstop. I'm sorry she's putting that pressure on you. I responded gently, organizing papers into neat piles as I spoke. But there's nothing to say. Clara. Eva, Clara said cautiously, sighing quietly. They're really worried this time. Mom even called me crying today. Crying, Eva. Do you realize how rare that is? Yes, I replied calmly. Very rare indeed. I'm sure she's upset about appearances. Eva, Clara murmured, a gentle plea beneath her careful neutrality. You don't need to prove your point like this. This isn't just a point, I clarified gently. It's a boundary, she echoed softly, doubt clear in her voice. Eva, You've always done what you wanted. Why draw this line now? Have I really? I challenged, carefully. Or have I always subtly bent toward their expectations, trying to win approval I've never gotten? Clara hesitated quietly, absorbing my words. Maybe a little of both. It's been a lot of bending, I replied evenly. And I'm tired. I'm not angry, Clara, just done. She exhaled softly, her next words coming slowly, carefully chosen. Mom and Dad don't understand. Eva, you haven't explained clearly enough. You've just withdrawn. They wouldn't understand even if I shouted, I murmured gently. So I'm choosing silence. They'll either listen, or they won't. Either way, I'm done shouting into emptiness. She paused, weighing my words before responding quietly. Eva, if you don't come to the anniversary, this could really break something in the family. Or maybe, I suggested softly, calmly, it will fix something, force them to face reality. She was quiet again, the subtle hum of our connection heavy with unspoken emotions. When she finally spoke, her voice was tentative, almost pleading. Eva, are you ready to accept the consequences if it doesn't? I've already accepted them, I replied steadily. I did that the moment I chose myself. Another quiet pause lingered. You're really at peace with this? I really am, I confirmed gently, voice steady with quiet clarity. Clara sighed softly, resignation finally coloring her words. I just worry about losing something we can't get back. I've worried about that my whole life. Clara, I admitted quietly. Now I realize it was never mine to lose. She hesitated briefly. So that's it. You're really not coming to the gala? I'm really not, I affirmed gently, decisively. She exhaled again, reluctantly accepting. I'll try to manage things on my end, then. But I need you to promise me something. What is it? I asked softly. Promise me you're doing this because it's genuinely what's best for you. She said slowly, carefully. Not because you want to teach them a lesson. I smiled faintly, unseen. Clara, I'm done teaching lessons. This silence isn't about punishment, it's about finally respecting myself. Okay, she whispered gently. Then I'll support it, even if it's hard. I appreciate that, I murmured softly. More than you know. You'll call if you need anything. She pressed gently, concern clear beneath her calm acceptance. Promise, I confirmed quietly. After we hung up, the quiet of my apartment wrapped softly around me again. Clara's understanding mattered, but her anxious questions lingered quietly, prompting thoughtful reflection. This wasn't about punishment or proving points. It was simply choosing myself. Reclaiming quiet dignity I'd unknowingly surrendered to my parents' subtle control. My phone chimed again briefly, this time a cautious, polite message from Dad. Eva, your mother is upset. Perhaps reconsider coming to the fitting tomorrow. No pressure, just something to think about. I stared at the message thoughtfully, considering carefully before typing a careful, polite response. I appreciate the invitation, Dad, but I've made my decision. Please respect it. His response was swift, cautiously neutral. Understood. Take care. I set the phone aside again, feeling a quiet satisfaction settle deeply inside me. Their subtle manipulation no longer unsettled me. Instead, each attempt reinforced my decision, validating the boundaries I'd carefully drawn. Later that evening, curled comfortably in an armchair with a book I'd neglected for months, another gentle chime broke the calm. This time, Aunt Margaret's name lit the screen, surprising me briefly before I answered warmly. Aunt Margaret, I greeted softly, curious but pleased. It's late, is everything okay? Oh, sweetheart. She began gently, affectionate warmth threaded carefully through her voice. I'm perfectly fine. But your mother just called, very worried. I wanted to check in myself. I smiled softly, touched by her genuine concern. I appreciate it, Aunt Margaret, but there's really nothing to worry about. She paused, gentle hesitation clear in her voice. Eva, I don't often pry, but your mother seemed unusually upset. She mentioned you might not attend the anniversary. I won't be attending, I confirmed calmly. She hesitated gently, voice thoughtful yet cautious. Eva, your parents mean well, even if they're complicated. I know they mean well, I agreed softly. But meaning well doesn't erase years of quiet neglect. Another pause. Sympathetic and reflective. You sound very sure, sweetheart. I am. I said calmly. For the first time in my life, I'm truly sure. Then trust yourself. She encouraged warmly, gentle reassurance coloring her words. Sometimes choosing ourselves disappoints others, but it's essential. Your happiness matters, Eva. Her simple, genuine support lifted the remaining heaviness from my chest. Thank you, Aunt Margaret. You have no idea how much that means. Oh, I might have some idea, she replied gently, warmth evident. I've known your parents much longer than you have. I laughed softly, grateful for the gentle comfort of her understanding. Good point. Just promise me you'll take care of yourself, Eva, she added carefully, affectionate concern evident. I promise, I reassured softly. That's exactly what I'm doing. After ending the call, quiet clarity enveloped me once more, each interaction reinforcing gentle resolve. Carefully, deliberately, I'd chosen silence as my strength, subtle yet powerful, louder than any words could ever be. Saturday morning arrived softly, the sunlight gentle yet insistent as it filtered through my blinds. The quiet rhythm of my morning routine flowed seamlessly. Coffee brewing, soft music playing in the background. It was peaceful, predictable, a quiet sanctuary I'd deliberately crafted. Just after 10, a gentle knock startled me slightly, disrupting the calm solitude. Curious yet cautious, I approached the door, opening it slowly. Clara stood hesitantly in the hallway, eyes scanning my face carefully, a paper bag in hand. Hey, she said softly, smiling faintly. I brought pastries. A small, careful smile curved my lips. Always the diplomat. You taught me well, she returned warmly, stepping inside when I moved aside to welcome her. We settled quietly at my small table, sunlight softly illuminating the careful arrangement of croissants and muffins she'd set out. Clara poured coffee for herself, movements gentle yet precise. Her gaze flicked to me briefly, concern hidden beneath her practiced calm. Mom called again, she began gently, voice carefully neutral. I sipped coffee quietly, meeting her eyes with controlled steadiness. I assumed she might. Clara's fingers traced gently along the rim of her mug, quiet anxiety subtly visible in her careful movements. Eva, she's really unsettled by this. I'm sure she is, I replied calmly, setting my cup down slowly. Uncertainty isn't her comfort zone. She nodded quietly, thoughtful. But she's not the only one, Eva. Everyone's asking questions. Your absence at the fitting, it's noticeable. That's precisely the point, I said softly, meeting her gaze evenly. Clara hesitated gently, a careful sigh escaping softly. I get why you're doing this, Eva. Really, I do. But it's becoming uncomfortable for me, too. I'm sorry they're pressuring you. I murmured sincerely, studying her face carefully. But discomfort isn't always a bad thing, Clara. She smiled, faintly, eyes guarded yet warm. You really are calm about this. Clarity brings calm. I replied gently, taking another quiet sip. Clara watched me thoughtfully, her gaze careful, searching for hidden emotions. Are you ever tempted to just tell them exactly why? I smiled slightly, shaking my head softly. I've been trying my whole life. They weren't listening then. So why would they listen now? She sighed again, softly frustrated yet understanding. I just keep hoping they'll finally see it. Eva. I did too. Once, I admitted quietly, my voice steady yet gentle. But hope without action is empty. She nodded slowly, understanding dawning gently in her eyes. You're forcing them to listen by saying nothing at all. I'm forcing nothing, I corrected gently. I'm simply no longer pretending everything is fine. Clara picked thoughtfully at her croissant, eyes distant, contemplating my words carefully. I never realized how exhausting pretending could be until watching you stop. I smiled faintly, understanding softly coloring my voice. Exhaustion became my normal. She hesitated gently, voice softer, vulnerable. Eva, have I ever added to that exhaustion? No, I reassured carefully, warmth threading through my quiet honesty. You were always the only one who noticed. She exhaled, gently, relief subtle yet palpable. I just always worried about making things worse. You've been my ally, I murmured softly, gently squeezing her hand. Always. Clara's expression softened warmly, gratitude quiet yet powerful. I'm glad. I just wish things didn't have to become so uncomfortable first. Change rarely comes comfortably. I murmured thoughtfully, meeting her eyes steadily. She nodded gently, quiet contemplation settling briefly between us. After a pause, Clara's eyes lifted cautiously, hesitant but determined. Eva, Mom and Dad are worried you're pulling away permanently. Pulling away? I echoed softly, carefully, considering her words. Isn't that exactly what they've done for years? She hesitated carefully, eyes gentle yet probing. Maybe not intentionally, Eva. I met her gaze thoughtfully, voice quiet yet clear. Intention doesn't change impact. She considered quietly, fingertips gently tracing circles on the tabletop. Eva, how far are you willing to take this? Far enough for them to finally see me. I responded gently yet firmly. And if they don't? Clara asked softly, eyes careful yet honest. I exhaled slowly, voice steady and gentle. Then at least I'll have seen myself clearly. She studied me carefully, quiet respect coloring her expression subtly. You've really thought this through. Every day for years. I murmured gently. Clara nodded slowly, absorbing my quiet clarity. Then I trust you, Eva, even if it's uncomfortable. Thank you, I whispered softly, sincere gratitude coloring my voice. A careful quiet settled briefly again, sunlight shifting gently across the table. Clara broke the silence first, hesitant yet thoughtful. I wish I could explain it better to Mom and Dad, she admitted gently. They're convinced you're angry, acting out. I'm not angry, I clarified softly. Just resolved. She considered quietly, thoughtful again. They might never fully understand, Eva. I'm prepared for that, I murmured gently. Clara exhaled quietly, softly resigned yet understanding. I suppose there's strength in accepting that. There's freedom, I corrected softly, smiling faintly. She smiled gently in return, quiet respect evident in her careful gaze. Maybe I'll find mine someday too. You already have. I reassured softly. You just haven't fully claimed it yet. She nodded thoughtfully, absorbing my words gently. Quiet warmth filled the space between us, unspoken yet deeply understood. Clara's careful support fortified the quiet strength growing steadily within me. After finishing her coffee, Clara rose gently, gathering her things carefully. I'd better go. But Eva, if things get harder, I'll call, I assured softly, standing beside her. She hesitated gently, voice vulnerable yet warm. I'm proud of you, Eva. Really proud. Her words settled quietly inside me, warmth blooming gently. That means everything, Clara. She smiled softly, hugging me gently before quietly slipping from my apartment, leaving quiet clarity behind. I stood still briefly, absorbing her quiet strength, grateful yet contemplative. Later, while washing dishes, another careful buzz signaled a message. This time from Mom. Clara says you seem well. Still hoping you'll reconsider. We love you. Eva staring thoughtfully at the screen. I typed carefully, voice gentle yet unwavering. I'm fine, Mom. My decision stands. She didn't reply. The silence between us deepened slightly, uneasy yet necessary. Returning quietly to my tasks, I felt steady strength anchoring me softly. Their unease was necessary, uncomfortable yet clarifying. This quiet rebellion wasn't just a message, it was my truth spoken, softly yet undeniably, resonating louder than any words could. And finally, I was heard clearly even if the silence unsettled them. In the days following Clara's visit, subtle signals from my parents started to appear. Quiet yet unmistakably calculated, the usual steady flow of polite texts transformed gradually into careful, probing messages designed to provoke guilt without confrontation. I recognized each move clearly, each message reinforcing the correctness of my quiet rebellion. Wednesday afternoon, my phone buzzed softly as I finished filing final documents at my old office. I glanced briefly at the notification, eyes narrowing slightly at Mom's careful choice of words. Eva, we'd really love to see you for dinner tomorrow. Just family, nothing big. Think about it. A subtle pressure lay beneath her carefully neutral tone, an indirect appeal cloaked in harmless warmth. Calmly, I set the phone aside, intentionally delaying my response to maintain strategic silence. Her unease was growing, I could sense it clearly, even through digital words. Later that evening, a voicemail notification flashed gently, curiosity prompting me to listen despite my cautious resolve. Dad's voice came softly through the speaker, measured and polite, subtly uncertain beneath practiced calmness. Eva, honey, your mother's been stressed about the anniversary, and your silence isn't helping. Give us a call, would you? Let's sort this out. No need for tension. Love you. His careful emphasis on Mom's stress was intentional, another quiet manipulation attempt, wrapped neatly in paternal affection. Calmly, I deleted the message, refusing their subtle tactics the validation they sought. Late Thursday morning, Aunt Margaret's number flashed again on my screen. Curiosity pulled gently this time. Her messages were always softer, genuinely concerned, rather than calculating. With quiet warmth, I answered. Aunt Margaret, I greeted gently. This is becoming a habit. Her laugh was gentle, affectionate. Consider it my own little rebellion. Your mother's concerned, but I'm honestly more curious about you. Me? I asked softly, warmth coloring my words despite caution. Why? Because I've seen quiet rebellion before, she replied thoughtfully, voice gentle yet knowing. It's rarely impulsive. It certainly isn't. I confirmed gently. She hesitated briefly. Voice careful yet warm. Your parents are trying subtle tactics, aren't they? They're predictable. I agreed softly, carefully polite. Messages, guilt wrapped in silk. Aunt Margaret sighed sympathetically. Yes, exactly. Your mother called earlier, pretending casual conversation, dropping hints that you're acting strange. She's worried, Eva, though perhaps more about appearances. She usually is. I murmured gently. True, Aunt Margaret agreed quietly. But appearances matter deeply to her. Your absence challenges her carefully built image. I know. I replied softly. That's precisely why it's necessary. You've thought this through thoroughly. She observed gently, respect clear beneath her quiet tone. Every step. I confirmed softly. She paused, voice gently probing yet warm. Eva, do you see a way back from this? Back? I echoed gently, thoughtful yet certain. No. Forward, though? Yes. Aunt Margaret considered carefully before responding gently, affection clear in her tone. Then stay your course. Eva, sometimes discomfort is exactly what's needed. I'm counting on that. I murmured softly, quiet gratitude threading through my voice. We ended our call warmly, her gentle support reaffirming quiet resolve. Aunt Margaret's understanding contrasted sharply against my parents' subtle manipulation, each interaction clarifying my quiet rebellion's necessity. Thursday evening. Another carefully timed message arrived from Dad, subtly pleading. Eva, please, reconsider dinner tonight. Just a quiet family meal, no agenda. Your mother prepared your favorite. His message was designed to trigger nostalgia. Guilt gently folded within carefully chosen words. Quietly, calmly, I typed a brief, neutral reply. Thank you, but I have other commitments tonight. No further reply came, their careful silence intended as another gentle pressure tactic. I absorbed it calmly, unaffected. Friday morning, Clara called again, her voice gentle yet carefully anxious. They're really struggling, Eva, she murmured softly. Mom's becoming unpredictable. 1 minute she's understanding, the next, deeply hurt. They're worried you're pulling away for good. They're only struggling because they've finally lost control. I replied gently, firm yet sympathetic. Clara sighed softly, voice hesitant yet thoughtful. Maybe, but it's becoming hard to manage their expectations. Clara, I murmured gently, warmth threading softly through my words. Managing their expectations isn't your responsibility. It's always felt like it was, she admitted, quietly. Exactly why I needed to step away. I replied softly. They'll keep pushing boundaries if we let them. She exhaled softly, resignation clear in her careful voice. It's just hard seeing Mom this upset. Even Dad seems unsettled. They need this discomfort, I murmured quietly. Without it, nothing changes. Are you sure? Clara pressed gently, thoughtful concern clear in her tone. Eva, they might never fully understand. I'm prepared for that, I reassured softly. Understanding would be ideal, but acceptance is enough. Clara paused gently, absorbing my quiet clarity. Then I'll stop pressing. I trust you, Eva. Thank you, I whispered softly, genuine gratitude coloring my words. After our call, quiet satisfaction settled again, each subtle manipulation from my parents deepening my certainty. Their unease validated my quiet rebellion's effectiveness, each indirect plea strengthening my resolve rather than weakening it. Late Friday evening, Mom's careful voice emerged again in a voicemail, subtly emotional yet composed. Eva, please, Whatever's happened, we can talk about it calmly. No arguments, just conversation. You're missed. Listening quietly, I absorbed the careful layers beneath her gentle words. Genuine emotion subtly masked beneath. Practiced calm, her desperation was quiet yet tangible. Further evidence my silence resonated deeply. Deleting the message gently, I felt no guilt, only quiet resolution. Their discomfort was necessary. Each subtle tactic affirming the boundary I'd calmly drawn. Saturday morning, the subtle tension finally emerged publicly. Browsing social media briefly, a cousin's message caught my attention. Phrased innocently yet pointed. "Eva, hope you're okay. Your mom seemed a little off yesterday. Everything good?" The quiet ripple of social discomfort confirmed my strategies. Impact. Indirect consequences beginning to surface subtly yet clearly. Calmly, deliberately, I responded neutrally. "Everything's fine. Thanks for checking." The message spread quietly. Whispers of family discord softly circulating behind carefully. Polite inquiries. Each gentle ripple validated my silent rebellion. My parents finally experiencing the subtle discomfort they'd quietly inflicted for years. By Saturday afternoon, another careful message arrived from Mom, finally edging closer to direct honesty. "Eva, please tell me clearly what you're feeling. I'm confused, hurt, worried. Please respond." I studied her careful words thoughtfully before replying gently yet clearly. "I've tried telling you my whole life. Now I'm choosing to be heard by staying silent." Her reply came swiftly, briefly. Emotions restrained yet subtly visible. "I don't understand, but I'm listening." Staring at her message quietly, calm satisfaction settled deeply within me. Finally, they were truly unsettled, genuine discomfort provoking authentic openness. My quiet rebellion planting seeds of doubt strong enough to crack their careful facade. Turning off my phone deliberately, I felt steady strength anchoring me. Quiet yet powerful. Each subtle manipulation attempt confirmed my strategy's effectiveness. Their unease becoming a clear, quiet victory, a silent triumph carefully planned. Finally blossoming. Late Monday afternoon, after settling final paperwork at my old firm, I returned home to find a thick, ornate envelope carefully placed in my mailbox. The creamy cardstock gleamed softly in the gentle light, embossed lettering elegant, refined, a perfect representation of my parents' carefully curated image. Their anniversary gala invitation had finally arrived. Quietly, I carried it inside. Placing it gently on my kitchen table without opening it, I stared at it calmly, considering the weight behind the perfectly polished facade, feeling a subtle, yet powerful urge to toss it away immediately. But I resisted, choosing instead to deliberately let it remain untouched, a silent, firm refusal. Minutes later, my phone buzzed gently. Mom's carefully neutral message arriving predictably on schedule: "Eva, your invitation should have arrived today. Let me know you've received it." Calmly, deliberately, I left her message unread, reinforcing my quiet rebellion through subtle silence. Every unanswered notification strengthened my resolve. My quiet resistance growing steadily, gently powerful. The invitation lingered quietly on my table, its silent presence palpable, symbolic. Eventually, I stood slowly, fingers lightly tracing the envelope's smooth edges, feeling the careful, delicate embossing beneath my fingertips. It was beautiful. Yes, crafted carefully, reflecting precisely how my parents wanted the world to see them. But beneath that beauty lay emptiness. Their need for validation and praise subtly concealed behind polished invitations and perfect smiles. Gently, purposefully, I stepped away. choosing not to open at my first deliberate act of defiance against their carefully constructed expectations. This decision, though quiet and simple, carried undeniable weight. Ignoring the invitation meant rejecting more than just an event. It was rejecting their carefully maintained illusion of family harmony. As evening approached, my phone buzzed softly again, Clara's name briefly illuminating the screen. "Did you receive the invite?" "Mom's anxious," I replied, carefully yet gently honest. "Yes, I'm leaving it unopened." She responded swiftly, subtle worry evident even in text. "Eva, they're really struggling. This gala means a lot to them." I paused thoughtfully before answering, words gentle yet firm. "It always does. But I'm done playing along." Her reply took longer, hesitant yet supportive. "I get it. Just wish it didn't hurt them this much." I stared thoughtfully at her words, responding carefully. "I wish they understood how much they've hurt me." She didn't reply further, silence settling gently again. Her quiet support steadied me, affirming my decision despite discomfort. Clara understood subtly yet deeply. Her quiet allyship strengthened my resolve more powerfully than outright approval ever could. Late that night, sleepless and contemplative, I paced slowly through my apartment, the unopened invitation still quietly taunting from the table. Unable to resist, I finally picked it up again, turning it over carefully, feeling the weight of my parents' carefully managed expectations inside the pristine envelope. My phone vibrated softly once more, another late-night message from Mom, brief, yet unmistakably tense. "Eva, please acknowledge receipt. It's important." Her anxiety threaded subtly through her carefully neutral words, her discomfort becoming clearer. Quietly, firmly, I typed my response. "It arrived. That's all." She replied immediately, frustration edging subtly into her careful politeness. "Eva, are you really going to ignore us this way?" Pausing briefly, I typed gently yet decisively. "I'm not ignoring you. I'm just no longer responding the way you expect." She didn't reply again, her silence purposeful yet fragile. Setting my phone aside, I stared again at the unopened invitation, deliberately placing it back onto the table. Ignoring it required careful, strategic self-control. Yet each moment resisting their subtle manipulations strengthened my quiet determination. Early the next morning, Dad's voicemail came carefully measured, subtle anxiety clear beneath practiced calmness. "Eva, please just confirm you're attending. Your mother's worried about appearances. She's put a lot of effort into this gala. Just call us back." I listened calmly, absorbing his subtle manipulation attempt before deleting the message without response. Their discomfort, though carefully disguised, was becoming clear with every unanswered attempt at contact. By noon, Aunt Margaret called again, her tone gentle yet cautiously inquisitive. "Eva, sweetheart," she began softly, "your mother seems genuinely anxious about your invitation. You haven't responded." "I'm intentionally not responding," I explained calmly yet gently. Aunt Margaret paused carefully, considering my quiet rebellion thoughtfully. "You're choosing silence to send a clear message." "Yes," I confirmed softly. "It's louder than any words." She sighed sympathetically. "Your parents aren't used to silence, Eva. It's unsettling them deeply." "That's exactly the point," I murmured gently. She hesitated, gentle concern evident. "You're truly prepared to ignore the invitation entirely." "I already have," I responded calmly. She was silent briefly, absorbing my quiet clarity. "Then trust yourself, Eva. This quiet rebellion, though painful for them, is essential." "Thank you," I whispered gently, grateful for her quiet support. After our call, subtle satisfaction settled gently within me again. The invitation's continued silence carried undeniable weight, unsettling my parents more than direct confrontation ever could. That evening, my phone rang insistently again, Mom's name boldly illuminated. Calmly, deliberately, I let it ring out, reinforcing strategic silence clearly. Her attempts at subtle manipulation intensified steadily, each unanswered call deepening her quiet anxiety. Late that night, another carefully worded text arrived, her patience thinning subtly. Eva, ignoring. This won't change anything. Talk to us. Quietly, decisively, I typed back. Ignoring this changes everything. She didn't reply, her silence purposeful yet fragile. Evidence my quiet rebellion deeply unsettled their carefully maintained facade. By Wednesday afternoon, rumors gently circulated within family circles, subtle inquiries emerging carefully through messages from cousins and distant relatives, indirectly confirming my strategy's quiet effectiveness. Their unease became palpable, careful yet undeniably clear. That evening, Clara's gentle message arrived again, carefully supportive yet cautious. Mom's frantic about your silence. Are you sure this is necessary? I replied carefully yet firmly. Absolutely. Necessary, she responded softly, quiet understanding threaded through gentle words. Then stay strong. Even if they never fully understand, I do. Her quiet support reinforced my steady strength gently. Each subtle manipulation from my parents now entirely powerless. Late Wednesday night, I finally took the unopened invitation in hand, stepping quietly toward the recycling bin. Calmly, deliberately, I dropped it inside, listening as it settled gently. A final symbolic act of quiet defiance. Their careful manipulation had failed, their subtle tactics powerless against strategic silence. Ignoring the invitation wasn't merely rebellion, it was reclaiming my quiet strength. Finally free from their carefully managed expectations, standing quietly in my kitchen, subtle satisfaction filled me softly yet powerfully. Their anxiety was evidence enough I'd finally been heard, my silence resonating louder than any words ever could. Night settled quietly around my apartment, shadows dancing softly along the walls, gently illuminated by the dim glow of my desk lamp. Seated comfortably at my desk, I opened a leather-bound journal, its blank pages waiting patiently for truths I'd carefully hidden from even myself. Tonight, I'd face them clearly, no more gentle evasion, no more subtle denial. Taking a deep breath, pen poised softly above paper, I allowed memories to surface quietly, each subtle betrayal rising gently, clearly etched in my consciousness. With careful honesty, I began writing. The science fair, 7th grade. Mom barely glanced at my medal, criticized my display board. Dad shook hands with another parent, never noticing my tears carefully hidden beneath forced smiles. Achievement dismissed casually, subtly devastating. My pen paused gently, emotion threading carefully through memories. Quietly, I continued. High school graduation, valedictorian. Yet Mom fussed over dress choice, hair. Image never praised the speech I rehearsed endlessly. Dad applauded politely. Attention always elsewhere. Pride invisible, subtle disappointment, clearer than words. Each memory carefully excavated added clarity, reinforcing my quiet rebellion's necessity. Pen moving deliberately, steadily, I confronted each subtle betrayal head-on. College acceptance to Princeton. Your sister chose closer to home. Mom reminded carefully. Dad nodded politely. Eyes elsewhere again. Excitement diminished softly, yet powerfully. I paused briefly, breathing softly, emotion held gently in quiet control. Before continuing, my first internship at an elite firm, Mom remarked casually, "Long hours, Eva. Will you even have time for family?" Dad simply nodded, unreadable silence subtly undermining my accomplishment. Each carefully recorded memory deepened clarity. Subtle pain steadily transformed into gentle determination. Quietly, calmly, I kept writing. Promotion at my first job. Another achievement. Eva, Mom said softly, polite yet indifferent. Dad's congratulations brief. Focus quickly shifting away again. Success minimized quietly, subtly, my hand trembled slightly. Emotion carefully controlled yet undeniably present. The weight of subtle betrayals finally clear. Recent job offer from Harris and Keller. Mom barely looked up. Dad remained distracted. Achievement overlooked softly yet deeply felt. Quiet betrayal unmistakable. Closing the journal gently, I leaned back slowly. Quiet exhaustion settling over me subtly yet profoundly. Confronting memories was uncomfortable yet necessary, each carefully. Faced betrayal reinforcing quiet resolve. Gentle tears pricked briefly, quietly brushed away as steady clarity returned. A soft chime from my phone interrupted quiet reflection briefly. Clara's gentle message appearing softly illuminated on my screen. "Are you okay? Just wanted to check in." I replied slowly, gentle honesty clear yet subtle. Confronting memories tonight. Difficult but necessary. Her response arrived swiftly. Warmth carefully threaded through her quiet support. "I'm here if you need anything. Always." Grateful for her subtle yet powerful reassurance, I returned gently to contemplation, clarity deepening steadily with each careful acknowledgement. Every subtle betrayal had quietly eroded my self-worth. Each dismissal accepted softly yet powerfully over years. Tonight, finally, I refused gentle denial, choosing instead quiet truth. Clear and undeniable, I rose slowly, stepping gently to my bedroom window, gazing thoughtfully at the city lights beyond, shimmering softly in the dark. The city continued quietly, oblivious to my careful internal transformation, yet somehow reassuring in its steady persistence. Returning quietly to my desk, I reopened the journal briefly, gently adding a final, carefully considered entry. There, subtle betrayals shaped me softly yet powerfully. Tonight, I choose clarity over denial, strength over submission. My worth defined only by me. Closing the journal firmly, I felt quiet satisfaction softly fill me, emotion gentle yet powerful. Tonight marked a clear turning point, subtle yet undeniably significant. My careful acknowledgement finally freeing me from quiet pain I'd carried for far too long. My phone buzzed gently again. A late-night call from Aunt Margaret, warmly welcomed. Tonight, answering softly, I greeted her gently yet clearly. "Aunt Margaret, your timing's impeccable." She laughed warmly, voice gentle yet knowing. "I had a feeling tonight might be challenging. Clara mentioned you seemed reflective." I confronted memories, I admitted quietly. Calm strength coloring my words softly. "Painful, I imagine," she murmured gently, warmth threading clearly through her careful concern. "Necessary. Pain," I clarified gently. "Clarity isn't always comfortable." "No," she agreed softly, thoughtful, "but essential." We shared quiet silence briefly, gentle understanding subtly connecting us through distance. "Eva," she began, carefully, voice gently hesitant, "has this rebellion changed how you see your parents?" "It's clarified things," I murmured softly. "They're flawed deeply but human." "And forgiveness?" She pressed gently, cautiously. Forgiveness isn't the issue, I replied quietly, thoughtful. Understanding is. She paused, softly, absorbing my words carefully. They may never fully understand, Eva. I know. I whispered gently, steady calmness threading subtly through quiet honesty. But at least now I do. Aunt Margaret sighed gently, voice affectionate yet subtly relieved. Then stay strong, Eva. Quiet rebellions often speak loudest. Thank you, I murmured softly, grateful. Ending our call warmly, I felt quiet strength reinforced softly, clarity gently anchoring me. Further, each careful acknowledgement tonight had subtly healed deep wounds, gentle yet powerful, finally freeing me from quiet denial I'd carried unconsciously. Late that night, preparing carefully for sleep, my phone buzzed briefly again, this time Mom's gentle message appearing cautiously, emotion subtly threaded through her careful neutrality. Eva, please talk to us clearly. Your silence hurts deeply. Quietly, thoughtfully, I typed my careful, gentle response. Your silence has hurt deeply for yours. Mine is temporary but necessary. She replied softly, briefly. Pain clear yet carefully controlled. We never meant to hurt you. Staring thoughtfully at her gentle words, quiet compassion briefly softened my careful resolve. Yet clarity remained firm, my gentle reply carefully truthful. Intention doesn't erase impact. She didn't respond further, subtle silence lingering gently yet clearly between us. Uneasy but necessary. Settling quietly into bed, gentle exhaustion finally pulled softly at me, clarity now deeply anchored. Each memory carefully confronted tonight had subtly strengthened me, gentle yet undeniably powerful. Quiet rebellion wasn't merely about defiance, it was about finally seeing myself clearly, free from subtle betrayals I'd quietly endured too long. Closing my eyes softly, peace settled quietly over me, gentle yet profound. Tonight marked a careful turning point, memories finally faced, subtle betrayals acknowledged. Quiet strength now steady within me, subtle yet undeniable, gently powerful in ways I'd never fully appreciated before. My quiet rebellion had become a gentle reclamation, strength finally defined softly yet powerfully by me alone. The night of my parents' anniversary arrived quietly, the city alive with weekend laughter and distant music. Headlights gliding down rain-slicked streets outside my window. In another life, I would have been at the country club, hair smoothed, smile carefully practiced, moving through crowds of relatives and friends. Always the dutiful daughter in the background of their celebration. Tonight, my apartment glowed with gentle lamplight and the subtle aroma of coffee and pastry. It felt peaceful, mine alone. I slipped on my favorite gray sweater, soft and unassuming, and wrapped a scarf around my neck. There was no hurry, no performance, only a deliberate calm. I left my phone charging on the nightstand, ignoring the first of many anxious vibrations. Clara's name flashed once, then faded as I closed the door behind me. The cafe was only 2 blocks away, a place I'd visited countless times but never truly noticed. Tonight, I chose a table by the window, ordered a black coffee and a chocolate croissant, and let myself disappear into the hum of other lives. Around me, couples shared secrets. A student tapped nervously at a laptop. 2 women laughed at a private joke. The world continued without me performing for anyone. The bell chimed, letting in a fresh drift of cold air. I took a long sip, staring into the dark swirl of my coffee, relishing the silence. My absence from the gala was deliberate, gentle confrontation in itself, each moment spent here a quiet assertion of my own worth. For the first time, I felt my body relax, My heart beat unhurried, my thoughts sharp and steady. The phone vibrated again in my bag. I let it ring, then buzz, then fade. Minutes later, I finally glanced at the screen. Clara, where are you? Mom keeps looking for you. Please just text back. Clara, they're worried. Aunt Margaret's asking. Can you just say you're okay? Clara, Eva, I don't know what to do. I wish you'd answer. I typed a brief reply, fingers steady. I'm fine. Please don't worry about me. I just need tonight for myself. She responded almost instantly. I'm trying to cover for you, but they're noticing. It's chaos here. I miss you. My lips curled into a sad, grateful smile. Thank you, Clara. I miss you too. This isn't about you. I just need to do this. She sent a final message, a virtual squeeze of the hand. Okay. I love you. Text me when you get home, please. I slid the phone away. The barista set my pastry in front of me with a friendly nod. I broke off a piece, letting the chocolate melt slowly on my tongue, savoring each bite as a private celebration. The world outside blurred with the movement of cars, strangers passing by, lives briefly illuminated in the golden spill of light. A couple at the next table leaned in, voices low. Did you see her dress? She looked like a movie star. You think she's really happy? Happier than us? Who knows? I watched their faces, their shifting expressions, the unguarded softness between them. No one here expected anything from me. No one here needed me to perform. I was invisible and utterly present at once. Time slowed, the hours drifting past, the rain a soft percussion against the glass. My thoughts wandered, not to my parents' party, but to my own quiet victories, the new job, the boundaries I'd set, the decision to honor myself above all else. Each choice had brought me here, to this moment of solitude that felt not lonely, but whole. As I finished my coffee, the phone pulsed again, a call this time. I let it ring. After a moment, a voicemail appeared. Eva, it's Dad. I don't know what's going on tonight, but your mom's upset. We expected you here. Call us, okay? I listened, feeling a gentle ache but no regret. I tucked my scarf around my neck, paid the bill, and stepped into the cool night. The air was fresh, scented with rain and possibility. My walk home was slow, purposeful. I watched the soft glow of windows, families gathered inside, laughter echoing faintly. In another house, in another story, maybe I would have belonged. Here, now, I belonged to myself at home. I sent Clara a quick message. Home safe. Don't worry. She replied almost instantly. Thank you. I hope you find what you need tonight. I set my phone aside, poured a glass of wine, and curled up in my favorite chair, the silence wrapping around me like a comforter. My absence had left a mark. I felt it in the tension of unanswered calls, the worried messages, the subtle panic threading through every word from Clara. But more than their chaos, I felt my own quiet triumph. I had chosen myself tonight. I had let their celebration unfold without me, refusing to lend my presence to a performance that had never been about joy, only image. My absence was a statement, gentle, unspoken, but impossible to ignore. I raised my glass to the quiet, to my own company, to the promise of new beginnings quietly kindling in the space I had claimed. For the first time in years, I felt not empty but full. A single evening, alone but not lonely, perfectly, powerfully mine. The morning after the gala, sunlight streamed across my kitchen floor in deliberate bands, bright and unbothered. I poured myself coffee, the the apartment still and silent, save for the persistent vibration of my phone. It began just after a steady succession of calls and texts. Cousins and aunts and uncles who had never messaged before. Some were formal, others conspiratorial, all laced with curiosity or veiled criticism. I ignored the first 3 calls, watching as Aunt Margaret, Uncle James, and Cousin Renee blinked, then faded. I let the messages pile up, determined to maintain my composure. Their confusion was the echo of my absence, each ring a small, hollow chime of uncertainty sent from the country club's aftermath. By 9, I gave in and answered a call from Aunt Margaret. Her voice was brisk, low, and direct. "Eva, darling, are you all right? We were all worried last night." I kept my voice calm, measured. "I'm fine, Aunt Margaret. I just needed time to myself." A brief pause. "Your parents were beside themselves. Your mother looked like she was about to faint. Everyone kept asking, 'Where's Eva?' I did my best to say you were feeling unwell." "I appreciate that," I replied quietly, "but I'm not sick." I gathered as much. She sighed, lowering her tone. "Eva, you've set the cat among the pigeons. People are calling it a scene, you know. Is that what you wanted?" I took a slow breath. "No, Aunt Margaret. I didn't want a scene. I wanted space." "They made the gala about themselves as always." She clicked her tongue. "You know your parents. They'll see this as public embarrassment. They see everything that way." I answered, a trace of steel in my words. She softened. "I understand more than you think, Eva. But you should be careful. This family isn't quick to forget." "I'm aware," I replied, quiet but certain. Another call flashed in. "It's Uncle James," I told her. She exhaled. "Take it. I'll call later." "Thank you for understanding," I said, and hung up. The next call began before I could set the phone down. Uncle James' tone was gruffer, full of awkward concern. "Eva, you missed a big night. Your parents are still in shock. Everyone's talking." "I'm sure they are, Uncle James. ****. People thought you were in an accident, or sick, or angry." He hesitated. "Are you angry?" I considered. "I'm not angry. I just needed a night apart. That's all." A beat passed. "Well, I suppose everyone needs a break now and then. Your mother's, well, she's taking it personally." "She would," I replied, carefully neutral. A pause. Softer now. "I hope you'll make peace with them. You know how your father gets." "I do," I answered. "But this wasn't about them. It was about me." He grunted, unconvinced, but let the matter drop. "Your aunt and I are here if you need anything." "No," I said, grateful for his restrained support. When I hung up, the phone was silent for a few minutes, only to light up again with texts. "Renee, heard about last night. Are you okay? Cousin Lily, family drama. Call me. Uncle James, just checking on you. Aunt Margaret, be gentle with your mother." I answered only Renee, the cousin most prone to rumor. "I'm fine, just needed a quiet night. No drama here." She responded with a skeptical emoji, but let it go by midday. The calls slowed. I was left with the aftertaste of confusion and speculation, the echo of my quiet protest spreading through family channels. My parents, for their part, remained silent. I cleaned my apartment, folded laundry, sorted through unread emails, mundane tasks, anchoring me to the present. My phone buzzed again just before lunch. This time, it was Clara, her voice tense and low. "Eva, They're both miserable. Mom spent the morning in bed, Dad's pacing. I've never seen them like this. I closed my eyes, listening to the edge in her voice. I'm sorry, Clara. I know this is hard on you. She sighed. It's hard on everyone. You're the talk of the family group chat. Mom's trying to explain it away. Dad's barely speaking. Everyone wants to know if you're coming by today. I shook my head, though she couldn't see me. I'm not. Not today. She was quiet, letting the silence settle between us. I wish they understood, or even tried. So do I replied, my voice steady. But I can't be the one to fix this. She was silent for a long moment. You really mean that? I do. I said softly. I'll tell them you're resting, that you'll call when you're ready. Thank you, I murmured, gratitude threading through my words. She hesitated. Don't let this break you, Eva. I almost smiled. It won't. After she hung up, I sat at my window, watching the city move. I thought about all the years I'd spent smoothing things over for my parents, apologizing, explaining, showing up when I felt invisible. Now, the fallout was theirs to manage, the silence theirs to sit in the early evening. A final text from Aunt Margaret arrived. You've caused a stir, but sometimes a little chaos is the only way to change a tired routine. Proud of you. I smiled, the words a gentle balm. As night fell, my phone was finally still. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel the full, complicated aftermath of my decision. Not guilt, not triumph, just a clear, undeniable sense of agency. The family would adjust. My parents would stew in their discomfort, their social armor pierced by absence they couldn't explain away. I poured myself another cup of coffee, sitting in the hush of my own choosing, knowing the confusion I left behind was both a wound and a necessary opening. In that silence, I found not loneliness but a careful peace, and a hint of justice that belonged only to me. Asterisk asterisk, the summons came late Sunday evening, polite, brittle, unmistakable. My mother's text was formal, almost businesslike. Eva, please come home tomorrow evening. We'd like to talk. Just us. Love, Mom. I stared at the screen, weighing the tone. Not a question, not a plea, a command, but softened by a tremor of uncertainty. The anxiety that had built over the past week was no longer just mine to bear. I felt strangely calm as I typed my response. I'll come at 7 the next day. Dusk fell cold and clean as I drove through silent neighborhoods toward my parents' house. My hands gripped the wheel with deliberate steadiness, each familiar streetlight painting memories across the windshield. By the time I parked in the driveway, I had practiced what I would and would not say a dozen times. The house glowed as always, its windows golden, the garden trimmed to perfection. The front door opened before I could knock. My father stood there, posture upright but tired, as if he'd been waiting by the door all day. Eva. His voice was careful, the faintest tremor breaking the usual reserve. Come in. I stepped inside. The scent of lemon polish and old wood surrounding me. My mother sat on the sofa, hands folded tightly in her lap. She looked up, eyes red-rimmed but resolute. I chose the armchair across from them, perching on the edge. I met their eyes with quiet calm, but no one spoke at first. The ticking clock on the mantel sounded much louder than usual. Finally, my mother broke the silence. Eva, we don't understand. You've never done anything like this before. I kept my voice even. You mean I've never missed one of your events? She frowned. Family is important to us. Traditions matter. Why would you stay away and cause such a scene? I let a breath out slowly. It wasn't a scene, Mom. I didn't shout or fight. I just chose not to show up. That's all. My father shifted forward, elbows on his knees. It hurt your mother, Eva, and it embarrassed us in front of our friends. I know it did, I replied. But what about the years I sat quietly through every celebration, every party, every dinner without so much as a thank you? Did you ever notice when I was hurting? He opened his mouth, but my mother cut in. You always seemed fine. You never said anything was wrong. I let that hang in the air, quietly powerful. That's because every time I tried, you brushed it aside. Like when I won the science fair, or made valedictorian, or when I got into Princeton. You were there, but you weren't with me. You were always thinking about what came next, or how things looked, or how Clara felt, or who was watching. Never about me. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. We tried, Eva. Maybe we aren't as expressive as some parents, but we gave you everything you needed. You gave me everything but your attention, I said, my voice calm but unwavering. And then, when I finally got something I really wanted, the Harris and Keller offer, you dismissed it with a nod. That was my moment, Mom. My moment. And you barely saw it. My father's jaw worked, struggling to hold back words he didn't quite know how to say. We've always been proud of you. Maybe we just assumed you didn't need us to say it all the time. But I did, I replied, my voice steady. I needed it as a child. I needed it last month, and I need you to hear this now. I'm tired of working so hard for praise that never comes. I'm tired of making myself small so that you can shine. A brittle silence filled the room. My mother pressed her fingers together, eyes shining with frustrated tears. Eva, do you have any idea how much we worry about you? Do you know how many nights I've stayed awake, praying that you'd be happy? I studied her, searching for sincerity beneath her defenses. Then why do you only show it when I'm doing what you want? Her voice shook, brittle with emotion. I don't know. Maybe we're just old-fashioned. Maybe we thought we were showing love by setting high standards. My father finally spoke, low and rough. We only wanted you to be strong, independent. You wanted me to be strong enough to survive without you, I said quietly. And now I am. They both stared at me, wounded, silent. I softened slightly. I'm not trying to punish you, but I need you to understand how your choices made me feel. All those years, I tried to impress you. I wanted to hear that you were proud, or that I made you happy, or that you saw me at all. You kept raising the bar, and I kept jumping, hoping this time it would be enough. But it never was. My mother reached for a tissue, dabbing at her eyes. You were always the one we worried least about. You didn't seem to need us the way Clara did. Asterisk asterisk. That's because I learned early not to ask, I said gently. I learned to manage your expectations, to smile when I wanted to cry, to never be a problem. That was the only way I could belong here. The words lingered, heavy and unchallenged. My father looked away, voice quiet. Maybe we failed you. My heart pinched, but I held my composure. I don't want apologies. I want you to hear me. Really hear me, for once. He nodded, silent. As if unsure how to respond, my mother finally looked up, her voice thin and tentative. What do you want from us now? I took a steady breath. I want space. I want you to stop treating my absence as a betrayal and start seeing it as a boundary. I want you to accept that I'm allowed to make choices that don't involve you. And I want you to stop pretending everything is perfect. You can be hurt or angry if you need to be, but I'm done performing for your approval." A long silence followed. The clock ticked, echoing through the room. Finally, my mother spoke, voice ragged. "I don't know if we can change, Eva. Not easily. I know," I replied gently. "But you can try." She nodded, pressing her lips together. "We will. We can try." My father let out a slow, defeated breath. "We love you, Eva, even if we didn't say it enough." I offered a small, tired smile. "Thank you." The moment felt raw, stripped of pretense and ceremony. For the first time, I saw my parents as imperfect, as uncertain as I was. We sat in the silence, painful but honest. As I stood to leave, my mother reached for my hand. I let her hold it, her grasp trembling. "Thank you for coming," she whispered, "even if it hurt." I squeezed her fingers gently. "Thank you for listening." My father followed me to the door. Pausing just before I left, he met my gaze, voice quiet. "Don't be a stranger, Eva." I nodded, not making promises I couldn't keep. "Good night, Dad." He watched as I stepped out into the cold night. The air was sharp, the sky deep blue above the quiet street. I walked to my car feeling lighter, not because everything was fixed, but because, at last, the truth was finally spoken. I woke the next morning to a text from Clara. "Come over when you're ready. I made coffee. We need to talk." There was no anger in her message, just something raw and cautious I hadn't seen before. I dressed quietly, tugged on a sweater, and walked the few blocks to her apartment. The autumn chill burning clarity into my thoughts. Clara opened the door before I could knock, her eyes tired and red-rimmed, hair pulled back hastily. She gestured me inside wordlessly. The scent of strong coffee hung in the air, mingling with cinnamon and a faint trace of lemon. She poured two mugs, handed me one, and we settled on her old blue couch side by side, but turned slightly apart. We sat in silence for a minute. The only sound the gentle clink of ceramic as she set her cup down. She broke the quiet, voice trembling at the edges. "What happened last night?" I sipped my coffee, feeling its heat in my chest. "We talked." They listened for once. It was difficult. Clara hugged her knees, voice small. "They were both a mess after you left. Mom cried for an hour. Dad didn't say a word all night." I nodded, absorbing her words quietly. They needed to hear it, Clara. For once, they needed to feel the discomfort they always handed out so easily. She picked at a fraying seam in her jeans. "I know. I'm always in the middle." They turned to me, Eva, and I never know what to say. I placed my hand gently on her arm. "You shouldn't have to mediate. That's not your job." It never was. Clara looked at me sharply, pain flickering across her face. "Then why do I feel responsible? Why do I feel like I failed both sides?" "Because you're kind," I said softly. "And you're the only one who ever really saw me. But this isn't yours to fix." She stared at her coffee, voice shaking. "Last night, Mom asked me if I was proud of you or disappointed. She wanted me to pick a side." A sharp ache twisted in my chest. "I never wanted that for you. I don't want sides, Clara. I just want honesty." Clara's shoulders slumped. "I told her I was proud of you. I told her you deserved more than you ever got." I reached for her hand, gripping it firmly. "Thank you." Her eyes filled with tears. But she was so hurt. "Eva." She said you ruined her night. She said I enabled you. My lips pressed into a thin line. You didn't enable me. You supported me. She shook her head. She said if I cared about family, I'd convince you to come back. I let out a bitter laugh. She still thinks this is about her. Clara's voice cracked. I feel split in two. I want them to be okay. I want you to be okay. And sometimes, I just want to run away from all of it. I squeezed her hand tighter. You don't have to carry this, Clara. Not for me. Not for them. You deserve your own peace. She wiped at her eyes. I've been so afraid of disappointing everyone that I stopped thinking about what I actually want. I nodded, quiet empathy thrumming between us. What do you want? She blinked, surprised by the question. I don't know. I want you in my life. I want to stop being the referee. I want them to love me without asking me to fix everything. I smiled softly. That's not too much to want. Clara pulled her knees tighter to her chest. Last night, I told Dad I wasn't going to beg you to come home. He got angry, said I was being disloyal. That's not disloyalty, I said gently. That's honesty. She gave a watery laugh. He doesn't see it that way. We lapsed into silence again, the air between us heavy but unafraid. Finally, she looked at me. Did it help, Eva? Did telling them everything help you? I nodded slowly. It did. I feel clearer, lighter, even if nothing's fixed. She let out a shaky breath. I'm glad. I wish I could be as brave as you. You are, I said, voice fierce. Brave isn't about confrontation. Sometimes it's just surviving, just telling the truth to yourself, even when it hurts. Her eyes glistened. Are you really not going back? Even if they ask? I shook my head. Not unless it's on my terms. I won't play that part anymore. Clara's voice was barely above a whisper. I don't know how to stand up to them. You just did. I told her. Last night. This morning. Every time you choose to support what's right, not what's easy. She leaned her head on my shoulder, exhaling shakily. I'm tired, Eva. I know, I murmured, resting my head gently against hers. Me too. We sat that way for a long time, sisters in quiet solidarity, each holding space for the other's pain. After a while, Clara broke the silence. What if they never understand? What if we never get the family we want? I breathed in, slow and careful. Then we make something better for ourselves. You and me. Something real. A tear slid down her cheek. I want that. I want to feel seen. I squeezed her hand. I see you. I always have. She managed a small smile. And I see you. Outside. The city moved on, cars passed. Children's laughter echoed from a playground. Inside, the old patterns strained and broke. Something new and tentative emerging in their place. Clara pulled away, wiping her eyes. Promise me you won't disappear, even if things stay messy. I promise, I said. I'm not leaving you. I'm just done losing myself. She nodded, letting out a long breath. Okay, I can live with that. We finished our coffee. In companionable silence, exhaustion giving way to the faintest spark of hope. Clara's loyalty had been tested and proven quiet, complicated, and real. For the first time, neither of us felt alone in the space between what we wanted and what our parents needed. As I left her apartment, the sun broke through the clouds for a moment, gilding the city in soft gold. I turned back, catching Clara's eyes in the doorway. She smiled, small but brave. It was enough. For now, it was enough. Asterisk. Word of my absence and the family's fractured weekend drifted through our small community with the subtlety of smoke. By Tuesday, the ripples reached beyond relatives. Friends' mothers cornered me at the grocery store, their voices syrupy with concern, questions masked as casual chit-chat. "Eva, dear, we missed you at the anniversary. Your mother looked so lost without you. Everything all right?" I smiled politely, letting the words roll past. "I'm well, thank you. Just needed some space." Another neighbor stopped me on the street, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Is your mother ill? People are saying she left the party early." "She was just tired," I answered, keeping my tone neutral, unreadable. They wanted a story, scandal, or an explanation they could retell over coffee. I offered them none. Every conversation felt like walking a thin line, but the ground beneath me felt steadier than ever. Inside, my parents' silence grew dense. My mother sent carefully worded texts, short, factual, never venturing beyond the necessary. My father didn't call. Even Clara, after our morning together, texted only sparingly, giving us both space to breathe. But the price of honesty, I learned, was more than discomfort. It was visibility. Our family had built its reputation on seamless unity. The cracks, now visible, were not easily hidden. By Thursday, rumors had grown legs of their own. "Did you hear Eva skipped the gala? Maybe she's having a breakdown. Maybe she lost her job. Her poor parents, after all they've done at work." A colleague pulled me aside as I refilled my coffee. "Everything okay at home? Just heard something about a party." I met her eyes, letting my voice ring clear. "Everything's fine. Families have rough patches. I'm choosing what's right for me." She hesitated, then nodded. "Good for you." For every whisper that circled, another friend, acquaintance, or even stranger offered quiet affirmation. Some seemed to understand the language of boundaries. That weekend, my father appeared at my apartment unannounced. He stood in the hallway, hands in pockets, looking older than I remembered. I opened the door, keeping the chain in place, a gentle but unmistakable signal. "Hi, Dad." He looked at the chain, then at me. "I just want to talk." I hesitated, then released the chain. He stepped inside, glancing around with uncertain eyes. "Your mother's not well," he said after a moment. "She's not sleeping." "I'm sorry to hear that," I answered, sitting down at my table. "She'll be all right. She always is." He looked at me, searching for the daughter who would soften. "Eva, people are talking." "I know," I said simply. His jaw worked. "It matters, Eva. Our reputation. The family's place. You know that?" I met his gaze evenly. "I'm not responsible for how the world reacts to our truth. I'm responsible for myself. I hope you can see that." He seemed to wilt, something crumbling quietly in his eyes. "You really aren't coming back, are you?" "Not the way we want. Not unless it's on my terms," I said, voice clear, but not unkind. "I can't live in a way that makes me invisible." A silence grew between us. He finally nodded, slow and resigned. "You've made your line clear, Eva." "So have you," I replied. He rose to leave, pausing at the door. "I do want you to be happy. Even if I don't understand, I am happier," I said honestly. "It just looks different than you imagined." He gave a faint smile, almost a shadow. "Maybe it's time we all imagined something new." I closed the door behind him, the click a quiet punctuation to years of blurred boundaries. Over the next days, the rumors faded, replaced by quieter curiosity. the story changed. Shape, shifting from scandal to acceptance as people tired of the drama. Some relatives grew distant, uncomfortable with the new truth. Others surprised me a card from Aunt Margaret, a brief but heartfelt call from Uncle James, each offering quiet support through it all. I felt no regret. I learned that drawing a line wasn't about creating enemies. It was about creating room for something honest, even if it left old expectations behind. One night, as I washed dishes, a message arrived from Clara. Saw Dad today. He seemed tired, but lighter. I think we're all changing, even if it hurts. I replied, change is never easy, but at least it's real. She sent a single heart in reply. I finished the dishes, dried my hands, and stepped onto the balcony. The air was brisk, but I didn't shiver. The lines I had drawn felt clear, firm, and finally mine. I awoke the next morning with a sense of purpose as crisp as the autumn air that swept through my open window. The aftermath of confrontation had brought not just social ripples, but practical realizations as well. If I was truly going to claim my independence from old obligations, from the invisible strings my parents had always tugged, I had to ensure every tie, financial and legal, belonged to me and me alone. I called Lauren Bennett, my financial advisor, and set an appointment for that afternoon. Lauren was sharp, discreet, and unafraid of complicated families. When I arrived at her downtown office, she greeted me with a firm handshake and eyes that missed nothing. We settled in a glass-walled conference room. Sunlight pooled on the polished table, and the city shimmered behind Lauren's tidy stacks of files. I need to make sure I'm protected, I began, my voice steady. My parents have been generous over the years, but I want every account, every asset, under my own name. No more joint holdings. No more signatures required, but mine. Lauren nodded, pen poised. Absolutely. Do you have specific accounts in mind? I handed over a list: savings, an old college fund that had never been closed, even the lease on my car, which my father still technically co-signed. Lauren looked it over, her brow furrowed in professional concentration. We'll transfer everything, she said briskly. Some accounts will require written consent from your parents, but you're within your rights. I can handle all correspondence, if you want distance. Yes, I said quietly. That's exactly what I want. She started on the paperwork, sliding documents across for my signature. Each pen stroke felt like a small reclamation of self, a slow unwinding of years spent tangled in polite dependence. I've seen this before, Lauren remarked, her tone neither prying nor sympathetic, just factual. Families like yours' generosity can become a leash. Good for you for making the cut. I managed a smile. It's time. They may not like it, but I need this. We worked in silence for a while, Lauren guiding me through tax implications, insurance updates, the process of removing my parents as emergency contacts. I watched the legal language gather on the forms and new structure taking shape, one where my safety net came only from my own efforts. Once, Lauren paused, meeting my eyes. Do you expect any pushback from them? I considered. They'll be surprised, maybe a little hurt, but this isn't revenge. It's protection. She nodded. Keep everything in writing. If they question you, it's just business. By the time we finished, the sun had dipped behind the skyline. My hand ached from signing, but I felt lighter. The old college account would take a week to close, the car lease, a few days. The rest would be done by the end of the month. Back at my apartment, I pulled out a folder of my own health records, passport, insurance cards, all things that had, in subtle ways, remained linked to my parents' names. I methodically updated each record, changing addresses, removing old contact numbers, rewriting emergency contacts to list Clara, and for some things, just myself. Each change was deliberate and freeing. A call came in as I sorted papers. Mom's number. I hesitated, then let it ring out. Moments later, a text arrived. Bank called about account transfer. Is something wrong? I typed back, polite but final. Just simplifying things, Mom. No need for concern, no response. After a late dinner, I called Clara, needing her steady voice. She answered on the first ring. Hey, you okay? She asked. I'm good, I said. Just tired. I spent the day untangling accounts, leases, insurance. It feels huge, but also necessary. Clara was quiet, then said, I think it's smart. You deserve to be free of their shadow. I don't want them to think I'm angry or running away. Eva, you don't have to justify protecting yourself. They might not understand, but you're allowed to take care of your future. I exhaled, tension I hadn't realized I'd been holding softening. Thanks, Clara. She chuckled softly. I'm here for all the boring paperwork stories, too. Hopefully not too many more, I replied, a small smile creeping into my voice. We talked a while longer about nothing, about everything, and I felt the last traces of fear recede. Clara's support was the one thread I still chose to hold onto. After we hung up, I made copies of every signed form, stored files in both digital and physical folders, and sent Lauren a thank you email. I felt as though I'd built something strong, practical, and entirely my own scaffolding for a life lived on my own terms. That night, I lay in bed, mind racing through legal phrasing and numbers, but underneath, a quieter current pulsed. Satisfaction. I'd always assumed independence was about distance, about moving away from old hurts. But as I lay in the dark, I realized it was also about standing firmly in the center of my own life, no one else's name on the deed, the account, the future. A final text from Mom arrived just as I drifted toward sleep. We're confused, Eva. We never thought you'd need to do this. Please talk to us. I didn't reply. I set the phone aside, breathed in the quiet, and closed my eyes. For the first time, I felt safe not just from them, but from myself. The line was clear. The paperwork was proof. And the life I was building belonged, at last, only to me. Asterisk asterisk. Saturday morning arrived silver bright, sunlight slipping between my blinds and settling in gentle stripes across the living room floor. I sat cross-legged on my couch, paperwork stacked at my side, when the unexpected knock sounded at the door. I paused, heart thumping with old instinct. Visits rarely brought comfort these days. Still, I stood, smoothing my hair, and opened the door. Aunt Margaret stood there, clutching her purse, her eyes sharp but softened by something new, empathy, maybe, or even pride. She offered a small smile. May I come in? Eva, of course. My voice surprised me with its steadiness. I stepped aside, gesturing her in. She perched on the edge of my couch, setting her purse carefully at her feet. I joined her, studying her familiar profile as she surveyed my small apartment. The plants, the careful order, the evidence of a life lived quietly and alone. You've made a home here, she said softly. I have, I replied. We sat in gentle silence for a moment before she continued. Your mother doesn't know I'm here. Well, she's not herself lately. She thinks if she waits long enough, you'll come back around. I nodded, unsurprised. I know, Margaret's gaze met mine, frank and clear. She's not the only one who's struggled. We all talk about you, Eva, and what you did at the gala. Some are shocked. Some think you're ungrateful. But she hesitated, then pressed on. I think you're braver than any of us ever were. A wave of emotion washed over me, bittersweet and deep. Thank you. I didn't feel brave. Mostly I felt tired. That's what bravery feels like most of the time, Margaret said, voice kind. You know, I tried once years ago to set boundaries with your grandmother. Didn't last. I went back to every birthday, every obligation, because I couldn't stand the silence. I watched her, seeing a vulnerability in her posture I'd never recognized before. She continued, your parents built a world where reputation meant safety, where silence meant peace. But you broke that silence. You forced us to look at the cost of keeping things nice for everyone else. I swallowed, voice low. I just couldn't keep living their version of my life. And you shouldn't have to, she said firmly. Eva, I want you to know something. I'm proud of you not for the drama, but for the honesty, for making us see what we'd rather not. The admission, so gently offered, made my eyes sting. Thank you, Margaret. She reached out, squeezing my hand. Don't thank me yet. Some won't forgive you for the disruption. Your Uncle James, he's still grumbling, but he'll come around. They all will, or they'll fall away. It's the price of being seen. I took a slow breath, letting her words settle. Did you come here to tell me that? A ghost of a smile crossed her lips. Not only that, I came to tell you a story. She paused, searching my face for permission. I nodded. When I was your age, she began, I wanted to move to New York. I had a job offer, a boyfriend, a life waiting. Your grandparents said no. They told me it was too far, too risky. That family needed me here. So I stayed. I don't regret my children or my marriage, but I do regret that I let fear and love make my choices. She looked away for a moment, voice soft. I envy you, not for the pain, but for the courage. The confession stunned me. I always thought you had it all together. She gave a short laugh. No one does, Eva. We just get good at pretending. A weight lifted between us, the kind that settles only when secrets are shared. Margaret glanced at my paperwork, her eyes keen, taking control of the money. Too, I see? I nodded. It's not about money, exactly. It's about not needing permission. Not from them, not from anyone. She squeezed my hand again. Good, because the only permission you need is your own. We sat quietly, sunlight drifting across the table. After a while, she spoke again. Do you want to come to dinner? Just me and James. No parents, no drama. I thought you might want to see someone on your side for once. The offer warmed me in a way I didn't expect. I'd like that, I said honestly. Tomorrow at 6. No need to dress up. We shared a smile. She rose to go, gathering her purse. At the door, she hesitated, then leaned in to hug me fiercely, like someone saying goodbye to the past. Before she left, she said, one more thing. Don't let your mother guilt you into coming home. Love her, if you can. Forgive her, if you want. But don't shrink, Eva. Don't disappear again. Her words found a quiet place in my heart. I won't. Not anymore. She nodded once, sharp and satisfied, and slipped out the door. After she left, I sat in the golden quiet, letting her story sink in. I thought of all the women in my family, living lives not entirely their own, wondering if maybe, just maybe, my refusal to disappear could change something for all of us. As the sun faded, I texted Clara. Margaret came by. She gets it. I think she's always gotten it, even if she never said so before. Clara replied instantly. That's good. Maybe this is how we start over, Eva. Little by little, I smiled. For the first time since the gala, I felt something like hope, a surprising ally, a new story to tell, and the quiet conviction that I could build something different, one honest day at a time. Asterisk, the invitation to a family meeting came from my father, a group. Text, formal and brief. Sunday at 3 p.m. We'd like to talk together. Please be there. Love, Dad. It was the first time in years he'd used the word love in a message. I stared at it, the single syllable heavier than I expected. Clara called within minutes. Did you see Dad's text? I did. I replied, voice low, heart already beating faster. Are you going? I think we both have to, she said. But Eva, don't let them corner you. I won't, I promised. I know what I need to say. Sunday arrived sharp and blue, the wind restless. I dressed simply, jeans and navy sweater. No makeup, nothing to suggest I dressed for battle. I wanted to bring only myself, unvarnished. No armor. Clara met me outside our parents' house. She hugged me tightly, her arms trembling. I've got you, she whispered. I know. We walked in together, side by side. Inside, the house felt too quiet. My mother waited in the living room, hair perfectly done, hands clenched in her lap. Dad stood by the window, back straight, eyes bright with fatigue. I took the armchair facing them, Clara to my left on the sofa. The room was a tableau of unspoken questions. The air tight as glass. Dad began, voice measured but hopeful. Thank you both for coming. We don't want another argument. We want to understand. I nodded, waiting. My mother's voice was brittle but controlled. Eva, this has gone on too long. We've never had so much distance in this family. I need to know what it will take to fix this. I drew a steady breath. I don't want to fight either, but I can't go back to pretending nothing's wrong. A beat of silence. Dad cleared his throat. Then tell us. Spell it out. We'll listen this time. I looked at them, then at Clara, then back at our parents. All my life, I tried to be perfect for you. Quiet, competent, always on time, always helpful. You rewarded me by not worrying, by not interfering, by not being there when it actually mattered. You celebrated my achievements with polite applause and moved on. When I finally did something just for myself, took the job, said no to the gala, you treated it as betrayal. Mom's face crumpled, but she didn't interrupt. I pressed on, calm but unwavering. It's not a betrayal to have needs, or to want more than polite approval. I needed real presence, real love, not just expectation and reputation. Clara nodded, voice small but clear. Ava's right. You always asked me to keep the peace, to make sure everyone was happy. But it meant I had to lie, too. To pretend Eva wasn't hurting, to pretend you were. I can't do it anymore. Dad took a shaky breath. We didn't realize. We thought maybe you'd outgrown needing us. We thought we were being supportive by not crowding you. I wanted you to be proud of me, I said softly. Not just for achievements, for who I am. A silence as the words hung in the air. My mother began to cry quietly, dabbing her eyes. I didn't know. I thought we were protecting you from disappointment. I thought if I kept everything running smoothly, you'd have what I never had. But I see now it just made you lonely." Her words cracked something open in me, but I held steady. "I need boundaries. I need you to respect my choices, even if you don't agree. If I say no, it isn't a rejection of you, it's a yes to myself." Dad's eyes shone. "We can try. We can learn. I promise." Asterisk. Mom reached for my hand across the coffee table, her grip tentative. "I want to do better, Eva. I do. But you have to give us a chance. Don't just walk away." I met her eyes, seeing the strain, the fear. "I'm not walking away, but I won't keep performing for your approval. I have to choose myself." Clara squeezed my shoulder, her support quiet and fierce. "Me too." Dad sat down heavily, rubbing his temples. "You girls are so different from us, but maybe that's good. Maybe that's what we need." A hush fell. The clock ticked. The dog next door barked once, then fell silent. I spoke again, my voice low but clear. "I'm not asking you to change overnight, but I am asking you to try to actually see me, to see Clara, not just as extensions of you, but as people who have their own needs and limits, who might say no sometimes." Mom nodded, tears running down her cheeks. "You have my word." Dad let out a shaky sigh. "You have mine." The tension in the room softened, something old finally unraveling. I leaned back, exhaling. "I know this isn't easy, but it's the only way forward for me, for all of us." Clara gave a watery smile. "It feels strange, like we're finally a family, not just a performance." We sat in the silence, breathing together, the wounds between us no longer hidden. For the first time, honesty felt like safety, not danger. After a while, I stood, smoothing my sweater. "I should go. I need time, space." Dad got up, stepping toward me, arms open. I hesitated, then let him hug me. It was awkward at first. He held on tight, as if afraid I'd slip away. But then he let go, and the gesture became gentle, uncertain but real. Mom hugged me too, clinging just a moment too long. "I love you, Eva. I'm sorry it took this long to say it." I closed my eyes. "Thank you." That's all I needed. Clara walked me out, arm hooked through mine. On the porch, she exhaled, her relief palpable. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually said it all." I nodded, the adrenaline slowly ebbing. "It doesn't fix everything." "No," she agreed. "But it changes something." I squeezed her hand. "Thank you for standing with me." She smiled, soft and strong. "Always." As I walked to my car, I glanced back at the house windows glowing, shapes moving behind curtains. For once, I didn't feel like a child outside in the cold. I felt like someone who had drawn her own lines and been seen for it. The sky was streaked pink and silver. The wind felt gentler, the world newly possible. I breathed deeply, feeling the old fear release, replaced by a quiet power I'd never known before. Inside me, the echo of our conversation lingered, painful, hopeful, real. For the first time, I knew the difference between being accepted and being seen. I knew what it was to stand in my own story and not apologize for the space I took. And as I drove away, I realized I had claimed my justice, not loud or vengeful, but honest and earned. The final confrontation was not a fight, but a reckoning one. That gave me the power, at last, to choose my peace. Back in my apartment that evening, the world was hushed and newly familiar. I placed my keys in the bowl by the door, shrugged off my coat, and let the silence settle around me, gentle, unthreatening. The living room, neat and sun-warmed from the late afternoon, felt like the quiet after a storm. For the first time in weeks, my mind was still. I moved through my routine almost absently, watering the succulents on the windowsill, folding a sweater and sliding it into the drawer, straightening the already tidy stack of books beside my bed. Each small act grounded me, a wordless reminder that this space, this calm, was entirely mine. I made tea and sat by the window, legs curled beneath me, watching the city's evening unfold, lights flickering on in neighboring apartments, distant laughter, a dog barking somewhere far below. I let the noise of other lives fade, listening instead to my own steady breath. My phone buzzed quietly. A message from Clara. "You okay?" I smiled, thumb hovering over the screen. "Yes, just tired, but good tired." "Settled," she replied almost instantly. "Me too. I'm proud of you, Eva. I think Mom and Dad are really thinking this time. I love you." A warm ache filled my chest. "Love you too." For a while, I just sat there, letting the feeling linger. The pain and disappointment weren't erased, but they felt softer, no longer pressing at the edge of every thought. I realized I had survived the fallout. I had walked through the worst of my fear, losing my parents' approval, enduring their disappointment, risking their anger, and found something sturdier on the other side. My own peace. It was a quiet sort of closure, nothing like the triumph or vindication I'd once imagined. There was no applause, no moment of cinematic revelation, only the gentle clarity of living in my truth, of letting go of the need to perform. The peace came not from winning, but from ceasing to struggle. Later, I opened my journal, flipping back through the pages filled with old wounds, lists of grievances, small victories, and private doubts. I read my words from weeks ago, the entries, tight and anxious, craving acknowledgement that would never come. I closed my eyes and breathed out, as if letting those pages go. I picked up my pen and began to write. Tonight the house is quiet and I am quiet too. I faced them, and myself. I asked for what I needed. I let myself be seen and did not disappear. I didn't get everything I wanted, but I got what I needed. Honesty. Space. The end of pretending. I can't make them understand, but I can forgive myself for needing them to. I forgive myself for staying small and for finally stepping out of their shadow. When I finished, my hands shook a little, but I felt lighter. The old ache, the wanting, the chasing had faded. What remained was something cleaner, acceptance, and a cautious sort of hope. I spent the rest of the night caring for myself in small, deliberate ways, washing my face slowly, changing the sheets, lighting a candle with a scent that reminded me of pine forests. I read until my eyes grew heavy, then slipped beneath the covers. The city's hum, a distant comfort. Sleep came easy, and when I woke in the pale morning light, I felt changed in a way that had nothing to do with anyone else. I brewed coffee, sipped it slowly, and let myself imagine the future, not the one mapped out by family tradition, but one shaped by my own choices, my own sense of enough. I checked my phone. No new messages from my parents. For once, that absence did not sting. It was just a fact, a space left open for what might come next. I got dressed, choosing clothes that felt soft and true, and opened the window to let in the morning air. My life felt smaller, perhaps, than it once had, but it felt honest, uncluttered by old expectations, unburdened by performance, Standing in the doorway before leaving for work, I paused. Hand on the knob. I was not the daughter I had been, not the good soldier, not the silent achiever. I was simply myself. No one else needed to see that for it to matter. I stepped outside into the new day, closure humming quietly in my chest, knowing I could carry this peace earned, not given wherever I went. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Weeks passed and the world outside my window slipped steadily toward winter bare trees, gray clouds, the bite of cold in the morning air. I woke each day to the quiet thrill of something new, the absence of dread, the presence of possibility. The wounds between me and my parents remained, raw but clean, no longer festering beneath old habits of silence. I had closed a door, but found another gently opening. On my first official day at Harris and Keller, I rose early, nerves fluttering but purposeful. I chose a simple black dress and boots, nothing meant to impress, only to suit myself. I left the apartment before sunrise, the city just beginning to yawn awake. The walk to the train felt different now, lighter. I wasn't carrying anyone's expectation but my own. The office tower gleamed against a silver sky. I entered the marble lobby, heart racing, and pressed the elevator button. Inside the cab, my reflection stared back, composed, steady, eyes bright with a quiet determination I barely recognized as my own. On the 22nd floor, a receptionist welcomed me with a practiced smile. First day. I nodded. Eva Rowan. She grinned. They're expecting you. Conference room B. My steps echoed down the hallway, each stride another step away from the version of myself I had been. Obedient, careful, seeking permission. The door to conference B stood open. Inside, a handful of new colleagues gathered in quiet conversation. I recognized a few faces from the interviews. The atmosphere was professional, not cold. The hush of people who cared about their work. A woman with sharp gray eyes and a warm smile approached, hand extended. Lauren Chen, head of strategy. Welcome, Eva. Thank you. I shook her hand, steady. The exchange crisp but genuine. Another colleague, a young man named Mark, offered coffee and asked where I was from. I answered easily, feeling no need to edit my story. We made small talk, projects, clients, favorite lunch spots. The ice melted by degrees. No one asked about my parents. No one knew my family name or its weight. I was only myself, and that was enough. The morning was a blur of HR forms, desk setup, laptop passwords, introductions. At lunchtime, Lauren invited me to join a small group for soup at a nearby cafe. I hesitated. Years of training had me ready to decline, to keep a careful distance, but then I remembered the vow I'd made to myself, to say yes to my own life, to occupy space with quiet assurance. The conversation was light. Mark joked about the office coffee. Jada, a marketing manager, asked about my favorite books. I listened, laughed, found myself sharing stories I hadn't told in years. There was no performance here, no silent scorecard, no audience judging my answers, only the warm buzz of shared connection. When I returned to my desk that afternoon, my phone buzzed a message from Clara. How was your first day? I smiled, letting myself answer honestly. It's good. They're kind. I feel new. She sent a string of exclamation points and a heart. I looked around at the unfamiliar view. The city splayed beneath the office windows, and allowed myself to feel it. Pride, excitement, a cautious hope. For the first time, my success belonged to me. Not as a performance, not as proof, but as something quietly true. Work ended. the office emptying with the soft rustle of coats and bags. I thanked Lauren, waved goodbye to Jada and Mark, and walked to the train in the early darkness. No one waited at home to ask for a report, to prod or compare or diminish. The silence in my apartment was complete, but it was not empty. That evening, I cooked myself dinner, a simple risotto, glass of wine, music low. I set the table for one and ate slowly, tasting every bite. No party, no fanfare, no congratulatory calls. Only the warmth of accomplishment and the ease of being fully, quietly alone. After, I curled up in the armchair by the window, knees drawn to my chest, and let the city's lights flicker on. I read a chapter of a novel, closed my eyes, and just breathed. I thought about my parents, about Mom, likely still grieving the change, about Dad, carrying his unspoken regrets, about the house that would always hold echoes of the girl I used to be. I didn't hate them. I no longer ached for their approval. I wished them peace, from a distance, and wished the same for myself. A notification flashed, an email from Aunt Margaret, just a few lines. Saw your mother today. She's still learning, but she'll get there. And so will you. I'm proud of you, Eva. Always. I smiled, gratitude blooming gently. The lines of support that remained: Clara, Margaret, even Lauren Bennett. My advisor felt sturdy, chosen. I realized that family could be something you made, not just something you survived. My thoughts drifted, and with them, the future took shape. Maybe I would travel, book a ticket to Florence, or hike the Scottish Highlands. Maybe I would take a painting class, or learn to bake bread. Maybe I'd fall in love someday, or maybe I wouldn't. For the first time, every possibility felt open, mine to claim or leave, as I wished. Later, just before bed, I opened my journal and wrote a final entry for this chapter of my life. Today I lived a day entirely my own, not for approval, not for applause, not to fill someone else's story. The peace I feel is simple but real. I have lost some things, but I have gained myself. I will not perform. I will not shrink. My life is mine, and that is enough. I closed the journal, set it gently on the table, and turned out the lights. As I slipped beneath the covers, I felt a profound quiet, not the silence of neglect, but the hush of peace. Tomorrow would come, and with it, new choices, new challenges, new joys. But tonight, I belonged fully to myself, no longer waiting for permission, no longer afraid. I drifted to sleep knowing that beginnings are not always loud, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply start over.